Hello, everybody, and welcome to the ArizonaWildcats.com Wildcats For Life video series. We're lucky enough today to be joined by four-time All-American and current Arizona men's golf assistant coach, Coach Nallen, and former Arizona Wildcats head coaching legend, Coach LaRose. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me today.
Nice to see you, Dan.
What's up, Berkey?
So we're talking today about Coach Nallen and the impact he had on the Arizona men's golf program as a player and now as assistant coach. And Coach LaRose, first for you, I was just kind of curious what your first impressions of Chris were when you began recruiting him in high school, and what you thought about him as a person and a golfer when you first started to recruit him.
I first saw Chris. I really hadn't known much about him. I saw him do an interview on a television show in New Jersey, and I said, I want this guy. This guy's going to be a professional. He is the real deal, and he's an athlete. And he's the kind of guy I like. He just had the right attitude for me.
Were the attitude and kind of the mindset what separated him in your eyes from others that you were evaluating and watching?
Well, at the time it was, because that's all. I had never even seen him play golf. But I saw his record, and his record was pretty good. But since then, his attitude and his desire to win were great. But his ability to swing a golf club is exceptional. This is the second best iron player I've ever seen him ever.
Wow. When he got to Arizona and you first started watching his swing, closely, expand on that a little bit. Just what made his swing so special and how much you enjoyed watching it.
He shot low rounds and he won all the time. The name of the game is golf. What'd you shoot? Not what it looked like. I always told Chris, it's not ski jumping. There are no style points. It can look great, but if you can't get the ball in the hole, it doesn't matter.
Chris,
who's the first iron player?
Tiger.
Oh, okay.
That's fair. Chris, we talked yesterday a little bit about Coach LaRose when you were getting recruited, and that he, as a kid from Queens, New York, and then New Jersey, he was something that was such a strong draw for you to come cross country. What did you like about Coach LaRose as you first started getting to know him?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. I think the biggest thing is, and I wasn't recruited heavily. I had a couple other looks and whatnot. And I remember I was telling you yesterday, my recruiting trip, it was a pretty easy decision. I met Coach and I knew he had a ton of players that were already being successful doing the things that I wanted to do out on the PGA Tour. And, I think one of the biggest things was just his, desire to win as well. I think, he wanted to bring you to the highest level and get the most out of you. And he was able to, I just think, deal with certain people a certain way. And he knew what buttons he could push on each guy and how they would respond. And to me, that was, it was an easy decision. Obviously coming here with the weather and all that is great. But being able to play in a competitive atmosphere day in, day out, and it was interesting because we would go to tournaments and I would feel like, the play that we had back home was more competitive to a degree. And we played in some unbelievable events with some unbelievable fields, but it wasn't, it just kind of made you feel more comfortable when you were out traveling and made it easier to play. So like I said, being around that competition day in, day out was huge.
As your time as Arizona progressed, how did Coach LaRose personally make you better?
I think just pushing me. And, I think there's been people that have said, oh, Coach loved you and he never got on you. And that's so far from the truth. He definitely pushed and definitely had his rants where he got on me. But I think he knew he could, and I would take it, maybe differently than other people would. And that was, there was always a reason as to why is he doing this? What is he trying to get? So it was getting me to, bring my game to the highest level. And Coach talks about, yes, I do look at my swing and I do all that. That's one of the faults I have. But I think I was able to, and even now when I go out and play, yes, there's times when I think about it and whatnot, but I usually am able to just go out there and score and not worry about it as much. But I still will after, or when I'm at home, I'll still think about it because I think it's just normal. It's kind of one of those things where you're always trying to look to get better and how you can improve and how you can be more consistent. So, with Coach, he knew what buttons to push, and he knew how he was going to get the best play out of me. And I've told him this before. I just don't see myself ever playing for another coach. It would have been, I think, really, really different and a different outcome for me.
So, Coach, is he telling the truth? Did you have to get on him every once in a while?
Yeah, I do. He's right. You do treat everybody a little bit differently. I used to get on Chris. Chris is a hockey player. He can take it. He's a tough cookie. And, those are the kind of guys that want to be pushed. And Chris was he's a fabulous player and a great athlete. That's a competitor. There's no competitor better than Chris.
Speaking of that, Chris, yesterday you were telling me a story about your first year here, and you wanted to be winning every week as a true freshman right away, and it was going maybe a little slower than you thought. And then before a practice round one day at Tucson National, Coach sat you down and had a little chat with you. Recall that conversation for us and how that changed things for you.
Yeah, it was, I do. I remember sitting in my dorm room with a guy on our team, and I was just, you get to a point where you're like, God, I need to produce, and I need to do this and that. And I was already hard on myself. So I got to a point where I think I probably just became a little bit distant from the team and just kind of doing my own thing and being quiet. And I'm quiet to begin with. I don't think I'm too, I'm not flamboyant. I'm not the, hey, everybody look at me kind of type. So even the spring started off a little slow, and we had Stanford the next week. We were going to Stanford. We were playing the Pac-12 championship that year at Stanford. So Coach had set up their tournament just part of the regular season. And, we get to practice one day out at Tucson National, and Coach pulls me aside, and we had a good 15-20 minute chat of just, helping me realize, hey, you don't need to be Superman. You got 3.5 more years of this. You don't need to be perfect day in and day out. And it was more just kind of like, have fun with it. You're here for a reason. There's a reason you're here. And you're going to be just fine. And then I go off, and Coach introduced me to Jim Furyk's dad, Mike Furyk, and we go out and play, 18 holes or whatever it was, 9 holes. And again, it was kind of the same stuff as to, hey, this game is hard enough, so don't make it any harder on yourself. And I think that just kind of hearing it from, obviously Coach in that environment, and then hearing it from Mike, who obviously with Jim has been through a ton, and Jim's had so much success. So I think that, just eased a lot of things for me and made me just more comfortable. And lo and behold, we go out the next week up to Stanford, and playing in the last group with Jeff Quinney at the time and ASU. And it was just fun to kind of go out there in last round and beat him and win my first event in college. And from there, it was just kind of, all right, off to the races to a degree.
So, Coach, after that one, he won 5 more and was a 4-time All-American and a 4-time All-Conference guy. How much did you see things change maybe after that tournament when he just kind of relaxed and started playing and having some fun?
Oh, he was the favorite every tournament we went to. If we were playing a big national event, it was always Chris Nallen or Bill Haas. Those were the 2 best players in America. And Chris was always kind of looked at as, that's the guy we got to beat. He's the best player in America. And he was. And he'd take it so low every tournament. I mean, 18 under par for 3 rounds. He was not afraid, and he expected to win. He wasn't out there to play for second. And I think his idol growing up probably was Tiger Woods. And I think he emulated himself in Tiger's footsteps. And he acted like him. He played like him. He acted like him, and he accepted nothing but the best.
So you obviously saw some pretty special rounds from Chris in his time here. Is there one, whether it was a practice round in a tournament, something that just stands out to you still to this day that he just kind of amazed you?
I played a practice round with him one day at Arizona National, and he shot 58. That was pretty special.
What's that like when you're playing with someone like that and they shoot a 58? What was that day like?
Well, you just try to stay out of his way, although I was probably needling him the whole time. I kept telling him, I think the course record's 59. You better get going.
So if you were needling him, there's probably a decent chance you were calling him Elmer. And I think everyone would like to know where the nickname Elmer came from for Chris, who I believe you still call him that today.
I still call Chris Elmer. When Chris came to school, he has a big melon. He wore this hat, and that hat looked like Elmer Fudd's hunting cap. And one of his teammates, Cody Byer, started calling him Elmer Fudd or E Fudd, and Elmer just stuck for a long time. It kind of runs in his family. His dad was Reed because he looked like and sounded like Regis Philbin. So everybody's got a nickname that makes him special.
So Elmer, what would you say is the biggest lesson that you've taken from Coach LaRose? Not so much maybe playing golf, but just in life as you've kind of moved on and matured.
Well, I think the biggest thing is, man, there's so many, but I think the one that kind of stands out would be just kind of enjoy what you're doing. Make it, I think that competitive fire even, grew more as I came to college, and Coach is pretty competitive. I don't know how much of The Last Dance that you've been watching with Michael Jordan, and he's competitive at everything he does. Whether it be a game of cards, whether it be, something stupid. It's just, you want to win and you want to be looked at as the winner. And I think that was one of the biggest things is, do what you can control, do the things that you can control. And there's a lot of things that are out of your control, but be the best at those things that you can control. And that's what I've always tried to do. There's a lot of things I think coming into college where I tried to control so much. And the things that I tried to control were some things I just couldn't. And I think moving into each year, I just got better and better with that. And, being able to compartmentalize some of those things. And then, obviously my senior year we had a great group and we had a great group every year, but my senior year was, I think, a little bit more special for me. And, I had guys, 3 freshmen, I think, in the lineup. I was the only senior. So it was kind of cool to see how those guys kind of took on and really, played well and just understood what Arizona golf was all about. And to kind of teach those guys a little bit was definitely cool for me. And I learned a lot from them, just being young guys coming in, and they made me better as well.
As a coach now, you mentioned earlier in this conversation the way Coach LaRose knew how to push everyone's buttons and get the best out of every golfer on his team. As a coach now, do you even have more of an appreciation for that as you've seen from that side, how difficult that can be?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this yesterday. It's, and I don't know the exact number, but 20 something, Coach probably does, but making it to the postseason, making it to the national tournament, national championship 20 something times in a row is unbelievable. And it's just so hard to do. And the format was a little different back then. And now it's the whole match play deal. But, you have one bad week at a regional, even if you have the best team in the country, you have 2 of your guys that just don't have it that week, you're not going. So just to get the guys up every week and to make them believe in one another and then make them believe in each other is to do it that many years in a row is unbelievable. And I'm a little different. I think as an assistant coach, you're kind of playing the role of, you're kind of on the guy's side, but you're also, you got to also be and follow what the head coach is saying, but you're kind of always a sounding board for the guys that are on the team. And, I try and just, give the guys some advice as to what I went through, and make it to where they're comfortable, they believe in themselves. And I think one of the biggest things that I saw this year with the guys was that they started to have that belief. And as we got better and better, they were believing in themselves a tremendous amount, which is why they got more comfortable playing well and playing in those situations.
Coach LaRose, how cool is it for you? How much a kick did you get out of it, seeing Chris put the Arizona stuff back on and get into coaching and give back to the, the school where he was such a phenom?
Well, obviously, I'm so proud of Chris. And so whatever he wants to do is great. I actually was kind of hoping he would go back out and play on the pro tour because he is so good. And, he had a few medical issues over the year, which kind of shortened his career a little bit. But he's such a winner and such a great player. And but he's also a great leader. And that's why I was really happy to see him in the program, because he was somebody who knew the tradition, the history of the program. And I have a lot of faith in him, and I think he and Jim have done a great job.
Coach, I'm sure you can make a couple calls and get that Q school back on, right?
Yeah, I'll work on that. Believe me, it's not out of my mind yet. I'm working.
I'm sure some people you could make a few calls to.
Well, I can make the calls. I don't know if it'll help.
And then just finally for both of you guys, I know you both are still in contact quite a bit. You'll play some rounds together still. You talk. How much does it mean to both of you to still have such a close relationship with the other and still be, so active in each other's life? Coach, we can start with you.
Well, people always ask me, do you have any kids? And I go, yeah, about 5,000 or 6,000 of them. That's been my family for my whole career since I started Arizona, and I was there a long time. And Chris is family to me, and so are many of my other players. They are so important to me because they've turned out to be great people, and I think that's the key to everything. And you kind of get close to these kids after a while, and they are like your own children.
Chris?
Yeah, I think, Coach said it there with the family part and the family piece. It's there's nothing that I would ever I could make a phone call to Coach. I could text Coach. I'm never not comfortable doing that. And it could be anything in the world. And I know he would drop whatever he's doing and do everything in his power to, whether it be just hey, can you come meet me? And, we just need to talk, those kind of things. Or I know he'd be there in a second or do everything he can to get there. And I don't take it for granted one bit. To have somebody like that is comforting for me. And it helps me because I know if I'm ever in a jam or if I'm ever, just need somebody to talk to, it's Coach LaRose. And, he's always got a way of somehow making things better, whatever it may be. And it's like I said, it's just something that's comforting to have. And, like I said, it's, I don't see myself ever playing for anybody else. And I don't have any regret. I think if I only had one regret, it would be not winning him another national championship because we got close a couple times.
Guys, this was awesome. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us here for a little bit and recalling the Chris Nallen days at Arizona. And stay safe, and thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Berkey.
Berkey was great. Thanks.